It is hard to believe we are heading into our final hour together. We'll be closing our time with wisdom because Proverbs reminds us the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. This next conversation will be with two incredible and legendary leaders. It will be led and moderated by my dear friend, Jenny Olson. Please welcome Jenny to the stage. Ow, ow, ow!
Okay, is my mic on? We good? All right. We are going to start off our legendary leader panel, and I'm going to invite my friends right away to the stage. We have the beloved Ed Schafer. Thank you, Ed. And Prakash Mathew. Feel free to have a seat, boys. That introduction is me setting expectations about the energy level I expect from you for this presentation, this discussion. So we did this last year at Faith Forward and this Q&A session with legendary leaders. And so I'm honored to be back here this year. As I said last year, and we'll say again, this is an informal conversation, and I've told these guys it's got to be authentic, it's got to be real, and we're going to have some fun, and we'll keep them on their toes. For those of you who are curious, because I got some questions in the hallway yesterday about what I would be wearing for today's session, the people who are giggling are the people who were here last year, because I had a rainbow-colored sequin jacket that I explained. I used to wear this at Microsoft when I was leading the Microsoft campus, executives would come to town, we'd do these Q&A sessions. I had a hard time getting employees back to campus, so I promised to keep it interesting and keep them guessing, and one day I showed up in a rainbow sequin jacket. They loved it, it became a tradition, then I kind of felt like it was my superpower. So I wore it last year, and that was fun. But then yesterday, there was all this talk throughout the afternoon about all these colors. There was like green this, and then this other green that, and the NDSU, and UND, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I can play this game. So as a Concordia Cobra alum, I thought we could introduce a little maroon and gold this afternoon and even the playing field. And I did recently leave Microsoft and now vice president at Concordia College. So I had to buy this new jacket for homecoming this year. So yes, Prakash, first question.
Something? Yes. You think the women are the only one who talks about what to wear. I got an email. I got an email from Ed and says, Prakash, what are you going to be wearing? Should we have open collar or should we have a tie? True?
Yes, absolutely.
And the difference in our jackets up here is really all you need to know about our personalities. Okay, so a little bit of bio introduction to these guys. You know a lot, but it's fun to kind of level set, not just about their resume and the things they've achieved, but who they are as humans. And this is Jenny's version of all the things you can choose from in the world to introduce these guys. But you probably know Ed Schafer is former governor of North Dakota, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture. But did you know he was also on the Discovery Channel in the show called Junkyard Wars, where you built machines out of scrap metal? How many governors can say that?
That was the best job.
Yeah, I bet. I understand, very handy. Nancy is very lucky. And has a background in business, building the company Gold Seal, which gave many of us the wonderful bath time memories as children with the Mr. Bubbles product. I really appreciate that. I'm a child of that generation. And I mean, Ed was governor during the 1997 flood. And what I love about both of these gentlemen, when we were prepping for this, telling stories, they both often referred to their wives as great partners through the years, through all of it. It was genuine, it was awesome, and I know they are here today. So, and a longtime member of Bible Study Fellowship for many, many years. So, that is our beloved Ed. And then Prakash, I did not know until a few weeks ago, which now I'm embarrassed about, because everyone in town is like, what do you mean you don't know Prakash? Clearly I'm late to the party on that, but we made up for lost time very quickly. And so Prakash, almost 40 years at NDSU, 40 years, impacting thousands of students. And I hear from these students now, knowing that we were going to have this encounter today. He's hearing from those students, past students, in preparation today. Tremendous, tremendous impact, primarily in student affairs, really influencing people's lives. He also published a book called We Are Called to Do the Right Thing, sharing all the things he's learned, leadership principles, faith-based, Christian-based principles, all coming to life in that beautiful book. And he shares his journey with his late wife, Sandy, and his current wife, Jane, and also has been committed to Bible study, lots of engagement in the community, board of jail chaplains, amongst other things. So, anything you guys want to add, like, you know, who you are before we jump right into your leadership philosophies? Because that's, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out on the internet about you guys.
No.
So I did a little picking and choosing, but they have lived it all, and that is why they are up here as legendary leaders. So I would like us to jump right into the guts of, because you have so much experience, I know you have both developed your own philosophies, tenets, principles of leadership, and that is formed by your Christian faith and developed your values. And I would like to hear a little bit about what those philosophies are. So before we jump into that, Prakash, for you specifically, I'd like to give a little bit of background. I mean, you came here in 1971 from India, and you have an interesting perspective of how you even came to your Christian faith. So give us a little bit of backdrop before we jump into your leadership principles for both of you.
Okay. I came here in 1971. In fact, I was brought here. And there was a team of people from United States came to the college I was going in India. In fact, I was doing my undergraduate degree. It's a private college, very similar to Concordia, very college. And one of the team leaders and I met. I spent about a day. That was in 1968. And when I met with him and spent the day, and he made a decision. We knew that we clicked. And I loved him and this person, and he happened to be the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church in Fargo. One of the team members happened to be. And he made a decision that he was going to bring me here. But he never told me that this is going to happen. So I still had about 2-year college left, and he came here and told the church, we should be praying for this man. He had no plans to bring anybody from India. It was strictly God's call. And so they started praying for me for 2 years. 2 years. And then the year before I came, that was 1970, my advisor, this was not a typical Indian college. It's a college founded by Dr. Sam Higginbottom. It is a very prestigious college. And I was happy to get an admission there and do well. And my advisor was from British Columbia, and even in India. And so he called me and said, do you remember that meeting about 2 years ago? There was a man who met you and had a conversation, and he has been making plans to take you to the United States. That's only if you would like to go. And I said, of course I'd like to go. And so he's going to take you there so you can do your graduate work there. That's how I came here, and I don't want to go too much about that one. But so already had the church played a role. People have been praying when I landed in the Kennedy airport in my arrival. And Pastor Ross Robson, who was the one who I met, and he was bringing the team from a team, they went to Holy Land. And so they were all there at the Kennedy airport. And I didn't know that either. So when I landed there, I was greeted by about 30 people. And they were standing in line and greeting and said, "Welcome to America. Welcome to America. Welcome, Prakash." And I said, "Who are all these people?" And because I knew Ross was there and whom I met, they were part of the church members. And they went to Israel and coming back. So all the way from Kennedy Airport to Fargo, and I have about 30-some people from Fargo already I met, and I already knew them. So that is the beginning as to how I came here. Then I went to NDSU and started working there since 1976. That is I should say something about my family. I think that is the part about the Christian family. When I came here, very few people from India are Christians. Less than 3% are Christians. About 85% are Hindus, 10% are Islam, and then the rest, all the other religions. I grew up in a very, very, very rich Christian family. My dad was a pastor, and my history of my Christian heritage goes to my mother's side. Some of you may or may not know this. Christianity began in India long before it went to Europe. Okay. St. Thomas, one of the disciples of Christ, went to India after Christ's time. And so he went to this particular state and another state. That's where the Christianity began in India. They called us St. Thomas Christians. My mother's Christian heritage goes all the way back to St. Thomas. There's two denominations for the Catholic Church and the Protestant denomination called the St. Thomas denomination. And so that's my mother's side. Sorry for taking too long. You saw me.
My face was not saying anything.
It was that.
Yeah, and my dad's side is a third generation Christian. And he converted from Hinduism. Even there's a 4 distinct castes in Hinduism. He was the highest caste, which is the Brahmin. Brahmins don't convert, folks. They are the highest caste, they're close to God. And so he converted into Christianity. He had to leave the state, come to the state that I grew up. And so I have such a rich Christian history. Does that make that I'm going to? So I lived my life. My parents were good. My mother was almost Mother Teresa of the community, not only my father. So that's my Christian background.
Awesome. Very, very, and that was all before the age of about 18. So yeah. That's fantastic. So I'll let Prakash catch his breath while we get into Ed. Both business, public life, community life, you've had a wealth of experience to develop and hone your leadership tenets. So what are your leadership values, and how did they develop? How do you implement those in the world?
So, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Let's find out.
I like that.
All right, you got the memo. You know how we're going to do this. That's right.
Today is National Knock Knock Joke Day. So.
Is it really?
Yes.
He's been keeping this from us, Prakash. He knew I would take it he knew I would take that headline.
So, anyway, let's see. Okay, so I'm a child of God. My wonderful wife Nancy is here with me today, and she is the one who led me to a personal relationship with Jesus. Sweetheart.
Woo!
I am here, I'm loved, and it's my decision to be here today. If any of you listened to Hunter Pinky yesterday, and he was so happy about being back to North Dakota, I thought I'd wear my North Dakota tie today, just in honor of Hunter. But so, as I have tried to think about the responses today in the panel, I approach things, or I've had my 3 feet in areas of the secular world, the public world, or the political world, and my Christian world. So that will inform my answers today, and I hope I confuse them. so they're all mixed up together. But anyway, I'm pleased to be here. The tenets of the way that I administer my leadership, I follow 5 principles. First one is to serve all the people all the time. The second one is to tell the truth. The third is to do the right thing. The fourth is to solve the problem. And the fifth is to eat ice cream every chance you get.
Now I'm tracking.
Yes. And the reason that fifth tenet is there is because, I love what I'm doing and I have fun with what I'm doing. And that's why, I try to put that into the context of what we do. So I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for the invitation to join you today. And I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right, we'll come back to some examples of how do you actually, implement these and bring an organization along. There's some similarities. I'd like to hear the same from you, Prakash, some of your philosophies of leadership. When Ed said, do the right thing, that reminds me of your book title. Yeah. We are called to do the right thing. Also, in reading your book, some of the principles like 80-20, things like that. So how would you summarize or articulate how you develop your leadership principles informed by your faith?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Since I grew up in a very strong Christian home, I had the upbringing, a good foundation was laid. But until I got here, believe it or not, Christ was not the center of my life. Here I get emotional. Yeah, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's real. We said we were going to keep it real.
Yeah. I was a fake Christian. Pretended like I was a Christian because my parents were great. I went to Sunday school faithfully. My mother was big on us memorizing Bible verses on Sundays. All the other preachers' kids and other kids can play outside, and we had to go to a room and memorize Bible verses. All those, but still, I don't know Christ was ever here. And when I came here, again, another story that is a true story, and in 1973, that was already gone 2 years, when I was in DSU, I wanted to be popular. I wanted to fit into the culture because somebody coming from outside, and I wanted to be known. Somehow, I think I used the fact that I was a Christian to my advantage. So it's not only going to affiliate with one Christian organization at NDSU, I will go to every one of them. So I can say, hey, I'm a Christian. I know the hymns they are singing. I knew everything. So they love to see me, and I go there, and I did for the wrong reason. And then in 1973, and a former pastor from Salem, Clayton Lindgren, and he called me and said, I was with the InterVarsity. One of the groups that I was doing was InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. He said, Prakash, there is a conference in Urbana conference. Would you like to go? I said, well, sounds very interesting because, again, I get a chance to go outside of the state because they never left North Dakota. So I would get to travel. And I'm a relationship person, by the way. So allowed to meet people, and they give me an opportunity to meet other people. So I did. Well, first I said, and then I found out it's going to cost some money. Well, I was very poor. A student, graduate student, and barely making it. And I said, I don't know if I can make it. He said, if a cost is the reason, that we'll find a scholarship. We can go. I went to this conference in 1973. That's where I found Christ in my life. Okay. Everything was perfect after that? No, it is a journey. It started. And the part, I think, going back directly to your questions about the personal philosophy, one thing that I practiced all my life was a principle is a servant leadership. And I wrote a chapter about that also, but at the same time, there's a history about the servant leadership model. It's not like I came here and read a book and started learning about the servant leadership. Even when I was a young lad, my father used to tell me about the servant leadership, which meant nothing to me, because of his work with Gandhi. My dad was the prayer leader, Christian prayer leader for Mahatma Gandhi during the independence movement. And then he went back to, after that period, he went to ministry later. During that period, I think my father's influence on Gandhi was teaching him about servant leadership. You may ask why. Gandhi knew a lot about the Bible, and he read the Bible, and so he was this close to converting to Christianity, by the way. And we Christians did not practice what Christ taught us. That was a major criticism about that. If you read his autobiography, you'll learn about that. But nevertheless, the model for servant leadership came from the Bible. You all know that, right? Christ is the founder of servant leadership model. Remember the time that the Last Supper, before, I think the Hunter Pinky talked about that. And it is in the Middle East. Middle Eastern countries where you wear sandals to walk. And before you walk into a home, and you're invited to your home and you want to have supper, either servant or slave, whatever, they will come and wash your feet. And before he walked into the dinner, and here he decided all of a sudden to wash the feet of the disciples. Surprise everybody. Master, you don't do this. So he explained. He explained why he's doing it. And that became the foundation for the servant leadership model. He went inside. Also, there was some power struggle was going on, by the way, among the disciples, because they're learning that he's not going to be here anymore. So who is going to take the leadership? Remember that if you read that scripture verse, you will learn about the power struggle going on. And that's where the foundation for servant leadership saying that. Serving others comes number one. You're here to serve. Jesus taught that. And that's where. That was when I came here, when I went in administration. And I said, I have to learn more about it. I need to be a servant leader. I need to be a servant leader. And students are my number one priority. And if I did anything at the university, if I left for them, is teaching the departments, and we are all turf protectors. All the divisions in the university and wherever you work, they will all go each other, and they'll get along fine, but at the same time, when it comes to finance, other things, they are turf protectors. This is mine, this is mine. I think if I left something for that generation at the university, I try to tell them, we are all here for a common purpose. If the students are not here, none of us are here. And so students come number one priority, and serving them, and the whole aspect of it, we can talk a little bit about as to what is the model, we know where the model came from, all the principles and values involved connected with the servant leadership model.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I think many of your students today testify to the impact of that servant leadership. So Ed, your principles, I want to get into more the application, how do you apply these leadership principles, maybe some real life examples and the results of that. To refresh your memory, he mentioned follower of Jesus, serve all the people all the time, tell the truth, do the right thing, solve the problem, eat the ice cream. Sounds easy. Yeah. So talk about those actually working in real life.
I think a good example of including everybody, in North Dakota, the governor has to approve any land that goes off taxable property. So if a nonprofit organization or a special interest group or something wants to buy a piece of property, the governor has to approve it. When I was shortly into the office, the Nature Conservancy wanted to buy a property down south of here called Pigeon Point, which is a beautiful piece of property, virgin prairie, all kinds of, prairie chicken stomping grounds and some productive land on it that was leased to farmers and things. I mean, it was a gorgeous piece. The Nature Conservancy wanted to buy it. I had to approve it. So the proponents came in. Actually, the opponents came in first. And it was the county commission and the elected officials and all kinds of people. And they said, you can't do this because it takes it. We need the tax money. We buy fence posts in the lumber yard. We buy gas at the gas station. It's part of the economy. You can't allow this to happen. And they pointed out all the reasons. And I thought, man, this decision is going to be a snap, right? And so now the proponents came in. And the proponents came in and said, well, we want to preserve pieces of this property. We're going to lease back to the farmers that are doing it now so it can still be productive. We're going to allow angling and hunting on the property. We'll have nature paths. It'll be accessible to all the people. And by the way, because I pushed them a little bit, they said, we will voluntarily pay property tax so that the county doesn't lose any money. And we're going to buy gas and fence posts and everything else. So now I had a huge dilemma. They were both right. They were both thoughtful and educated and prayerful in their positions. They both presented it well. And it took away from me the fact that I had to judge a winner and a loser. I had to say, this is good, this is bad, you're right, you're wrong, and allowed me to put it in the arena of all the people all the time, what is best for the common good. And I think that's a good example that I learned about how you manage tough decisions, difficult things, when both sides are right, which they usually are.
And how do you then take that and so you got to that conclusion, you went through the mental gymnastics to be able to work through that, but then how do you implement it, some of that mindset, thought process, decision in the whole organization and influence the people around you that they also get there and can start implementing that similarly in the organization to reflect the culture you're striving to build?
When we came into office, by the way, Nancy only agreed to date me because everybody told her I could never win.
Well, you seem to have navigated it beautifully, Nancy. Yeah.
But when I came in to office, it was a change time. And it was, we were able to really change the direction of North Dakota and the economy and the direction of the population and the culture here over a period of years, which was meaningful to the state. And it wasn't, it was, a time that allowed it to happen. And a couple of years ago, I was talking to some of the team then and said, how did we do that? I mean, how did that happen, given the political atmosphere that you're always playing in and stuff? And one of our people said, we were a bunch of happy warriors. I mean, we knew what we were going to do. A lot of them came through the campaign. We said what we were going to do. We outlined the policy that we were going to put in place, and we did it. And so, the reason I'm saying that is as you implement your values and your characters and your direction into the organization, it informs the organization. And it's important, and especially when you're operating an organization, that everybody knows the values, that everybody knows the moral direction that you're going to take, that everybody knows the character with which you're going to operate. And a lot of that you do just by being yourself. A lot of it is the example you set as the leader that you're directing. But you have to be purposeful in saying, in your work in your communications, in your effort to bring people together, this is who we are, this is what we believe in, and this is what we're going to do. And two quick examples of how that affects you, because you never get yourself in trouble, everybody else gets you in trouble, right? but I wish. But importantly, I think One time our political arm was down in the political office, and they were scheming against a political opponent. And they were planning on taking the person down, chopping them off the knees, put out all the negative advertising, do all this stuff, get rid of them. And they argued about this or put the plan together for some time. And finally someone sat back in the chair and said, you know, Ed would never let us do that. That is how the organization needs to operate. And that allowed me to be consistent as a leader and never have to change or move or change directions or backfill somebody or, you know, or try to repair some kind of a fault in the organization. The second thing that allowed me to do is to be myself and present what I felt was the direction of the organization. And the example that I like to use on that, and so when Nancy and I decided not to seek a third term as governor, we came back to the office, made the announcement, we came back to the office. Our scheduler came in and sat down and said, I've worked for 4 governors, and you're the only one who's going to be the same person when you left as you were when you came in. And I thought that was a victory.
Wow. I remember my early days at Microsoft. There was a tough time. I was in my mid-20s, my whole 20 years at Microsoft. And older, experienced leader in the organization sat me down one day. It had been a tough meeting, something I'd been through. And they had their hand on my shoulder and said, my wish for you is that this place does not change you. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what is he talking about? And then, oh boy, did I remember that so many times because it was happening. Like you could feel it at times. And but thank goodness he gave me a warning. So good job.
Can I say something about him?
Yes, it's an open discussion, Prakash.
Yeah. I think I admire this guy. Maybe I tried calling him governor a couple times, and he immediately corrected me and said, no, call me Ed. We become friends, very good friends. And I knew he's a man of faith because, not just because he was in the Bible study all the time, I could tell how he makes decisions, how he lives his life, and particularly in the last 10 years, what is happening in our country. Okay, remember, no, you don't remember because you don't know what I'm going to tell. I do this often in my conversation with my wife, and I'll tell, remember? And I said, and she will say the same thing. I haven't said what I was going to say.
We're ready for it now. We're ready.
Okay, now I'm getting that. Everybody's saying, what is he going to say? Okay. As I was writing the book, and it was a lot of pressure from the students and staff, former staff, and they liked certain things I did and I talked about, and so they, in fact, put a lot of pressure on me and said, well, I'm not a writer. And anyway, I started this writing, and about 75% it was done, and then what happened in our country, very unhealthy situation, is still going on. People approach me and say, Prakash, I hear you are writing a book. Is there some way you can write something about doing the right thing for the right reason? And I said, well, I'll give it a try, but I'm almost done with the book. So that is the reason why I wrote a chapter about that, or with a lot of help from others. And that's the reason why the book is titled Doing the Right Thing. But a lot of other things are there. I think when I think about Ed, again, going back to Ed, I listened to him in the radio, and he will have people from the opposition party. And he will enter into a conversation where they will disagree in a civil manner, very healthy manner. And I love listening to that. I think I would hope that some of those, we have leaders like Ed Schafer in our community and in our state, in our region. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Jeez.
And we all don't have to agree, but we can be civil. Treat people with respect and dignity. People always ask me, have you, Prakash, you came from another country, you don't look like us, all those, but have you had any bad treatment? Until about 2 years ago, I never had a bad incident. Never. People treated me with respect and dignity. You know why? Part of the reason I get some credit for it, because I always will treat people with respect and dignity. If you treat somebody with respect and dignity, it's impossible for them to treat you poorly. It's impossible. If I know I have a challenge about a tough situation, well, a lot of times I will capture them with my heart. Love them. Capture them. We have had some tough situations at NDSU, and where a person came from serving time and major crime, and he applied for admission at NDSU. So the committee is still reviewing it. And so here they found out that he is without permission. He is not admitted. He's already sitting in an orientation class and in the auditorium. Campus police and everybody, all the police, they said, oh, the guy is here. And so I said, bring him over. Bring him over. And they wanted to have all these people there because we don't trust this guy. And so they brought me to the room and said, you had to sit here, and we are going to be sitting along with you. And I said, no, I think I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. Well, no, we aren't going to let you do that. So they have the police sitting outside and have a meeting. And I made a compromise. You can be around, but not in the room that I'm going to be. But they were still afraid that he's going to do something, because what he did, the crime that he committed, was to do with somebody with a person of color. And so he said he's going to be so surprised who he's going to meet, because at that time I was not a vice president, I was the dean of students. And they said, well, we're going to go and meet the dean. So he's going to make the decision about this. And because you shouldn't be here because you're not admitted. Let's go. As he walked in, and I lent my hand to shake hands with him. And he didn't. And so he went and sat there, and I let him know that I know all about him. All about him. Let's talk about as to why you should be part of this university, based on his background. And we had this very, very good conversation. When the conversation was done, and all along I was thinking, I'm going to capture him with my heart. I'm going to capture him with my heart. And I said, I love those type of challenges. I said, I know his background, and everybody is concerned whether he should be on the campus. But I said, and how I'm going to treat him with respect and dignity. And when he was leaving, as he was leaving, he is the first person and reached out and shook my hand. And he said, thank you. And I thought, and he left, and he withdrew his application. We didn't have to make a decision. And because we said, if you were to be part of this university, there are certain rules you have to comply with, and we will watch over that. Not just simply hold you. There will be a time period where we are going to be really watch over that. If you cannot live it under that pressure, then we cannot approve it. And I will consider it. I will seriously think about it. And I even said, I'll pray about it. I'll pray about it. And so he left, but at the same time, he also treated me with respect and dignity. Yeah, anyway, that, I don't know whether maybe I'm going out of track with it.
It's perfect. That's what I love about Prakash, is he captured me with his heart, as he does everybody he's around. So it's awesome. But let me go back to the comment of meeting people where they are, the biblical concept of meeting where they are, but the point I made of everybody being right. And when you're going in to discuss things with people, if you go in the fact that they are right from their perspective, they are honest, prayerful, it makes such a difference. I was in a leadership panel not too long ago, and somebody said, well, how do you, when you're facing a difficult situation, how do you go into that meeting to try to get people to change their minds? And I said, I would never go into a meeting to try to get somebody to change their mind. I would go into the meeting to find out what they're thinking, what they're believing, where we can find common ground with what we're thinking together, and you move that forward for policy or direction based on the fact that human beings, are all good and all positive and all want, in the end, the same things. We might get there differently, but in today's political world of fighting and you're bad and you're good and I'm awful and the Republicans are terrible and, sorry, Democrats are terrible. I don't know. Everybody's terrible. Pox on both their houses.
He went from everybody is right to everybody is terrible. Yeah.
But that's the arena today. And we need all of us in everything we approach to go more toward that. Who are you as a human being? What are you thinking? What do you believe in? What do you care about? Let's figure out how we can care about these things together. And that's how you accomplish something in your organization.
Let's hear it. That was a great segue because we actually had a question in the app earlier that talked about how we navigate some of this amongst the tenuous political times of the country at the moment. And you guys got there on your own without even a question, which reminds me, this is a Q&A, so we do have time for some questions from the audience. And if you did submit a question in the app, I'm just challenging you to stand up and say it right now because there's a greater chance I'm going to ask it. And it's more interesting for everybody. So I do have a couple more pages here, but this is your chance to take control of the conversation and ask your own question. So who has the first question for these guys? Actually, while they're thinking, do you see anyone yet? Otherwise, I'll let them think.
When they're thinking, let me just, going back to this idea of meeting people where they are. For more than 40 years, I've had a little piece of paper stuck under the blotter on my desk, wherever my desk has been. I don't seem to keep a job, right?
I'm wondering what a blotter is, but keep going. Yeah.
But, it's a quote by St. Thomas Aquinas, and it's, we must love them both, those whose opinions we share and those whose opinions we oppose. For both have labored in the search for truth and the finding of it. And I just, that I think is so important as we deal with each other as human beings.
That's awesome.
I also had to share something too. Relationship. I'm a relationship builder. And relationship is the key to our success. We can have all the wonderful principles and all the things. I'm a value-oriented person. That is so critical how I make my decisions. I will not really violate my core values. All those kind of things are there. But at the same time, if you don't have the relationship there, I think that's what's going on in our country right now, the relationship building. I call people by name. There was a time period I used to have a great memory, wonderful. And I used to call students at NDSU, I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of students by name. I practice. And I used to call. And when they graduated and they come back with the children for orientation, they used to test me. They said, Prakash, who am I? Because you used to call us by name. And I practically adopted hundreds and thousands of students as part of my life. And there are several of them here too. So when I call somebody, in fact, Carly, where is Carly Mark? Where's Carly? So I called her my daughter yesterday, and she said, am I the only daughter? Or you say that to
That sounds like you're getting greedy, Carly.
I want to be known as the only daughter. And my son sitting there, Scott Holman, over there. And there are hundreds of people like that, hundreds of people in the life. And how did I do that? Very intentionally. You cannot just say that intentionally. I think you meet the people and write it down and get to know them. And even to this day, when I go to the gym, I can show you right now, I can prove it to you from the phone, and everyone I met the last 15 years there, I have it in my phone. And sometimes the next day when I go, if I see somebody, I'll just take a look. Oh, who is that person? I have a note about that person. I'll call them by name, and we become part of the family, my family. And we even have listservs for my family over there in the gym, Courts Plus. If you were to come, you will see my family. You'll meet my family. You'll meet my family. Jane and I, we sit summer days, we sit in the driveway in the evenings. And 2 chairs, and we'll have other chairs. Other people from the community, people want to come and join us in. And they primarily coming to see my garden. I'm a flower gardener. That's my therapy, by the way. So they will come, and they take the sidewalk, and then will want to see my garden. Well, I won't leave them alone. I will say, where do you live? If I don't know them, I get to know them. And next time they will come, we know who they are, and I call them by name. There are many ways of, I think, always calling them by name. And I tell you, a lot of times people will hesitate to call my Prakash. Some of them have a hard time, and they think it is a name that I took Mathew as the last name. Now, that's my Christian name. And there is a wonderful, I think I told Jenny that there's a couple things that really, really important for me to bring it out about the scripture verse. One is about the shepherd and the sheep. And that metaphor is really, really, because it's all about relationship building. In my faith journey, that verse, that metaphor really resonates with me, because he even knows my name. He calls me Prakash. And I know him. I know him. That's a relationship I have, the shepherd and sheep. When I wander around, I think he'll bring me back. And he knows the right path for me to take. That is a very powerful, good relationship model that I think in the Bible described. Another one goes along with that is yoking with Jesus. Because some of you may not even know what yoke is. You think it is the middle of the egg, right? Yoke, I grew up in India where that's how they plow the field. It is, so there's a frame that you put between the 2 animals. It was oxen. So I think that also resonated with me, because my familiarity with yoking with the 2 animals. So if I'm going to be yoked with Jesus, I know that I'm going to be on the straight path. And he's also going to lighten my load, folks. He's going to lighten when I'm burdened, when I'm heavy in my struggles. And when I pray to him and I think about the yoking with Jesus, because if he is there with me, and he will lighten my load, and he will also keep me on the right path.
You're a faith animal.
All right, so who's got the first question? Right here by Melissa.
So I have a little bias to this question. It's for Ed. So I went to UND at the time you were the interim president. So just kind of with that, with this being the Faith Forward conference, in what ways do you think your faith played a role during your time as the interim president at UND? And one dynamic that I'll just share briefly, and I was actually looking in Wikipedia as you guys were talking, I was like, I just want to sound smart enough. It's like, oh, you were that guy who made some decisions on the name change and stuff like that. There's a plethora of tough decisions you had to make, but just describe how your faith played a role during your time as president.
Thank you. And just as an example here, you mentioned I was the interim president. I actually was the president. Because, and I'm saying that because an interim position really doesn't give you much leeway and much power. You're just kind of taking over, the thing. And we had some very difficult things to do at UND. And matter of fact, Nancy and I were discussing that, and the student council had done a voice of no approval for the president. The budget was a mess. The student senate said you can't ever have a president that doesn't have a PhD degree. You know, they're going through all this stuff. And Nancy's going like, why would you want to go up there? And I said, that's why I want to go up there, you know, because we need to get this stuff straightened out. We need to get it corrected. We need to solve the problems that are up there. And so I made sure in my contract that I signed I was the president, not the interim president, so that I had the authority and the responsibility to get done what we needed to get done. Because you can't lead if you don't have any power. But I think how did we inform the decisions and the difficulties? I think it goes back to facing difficult decisions, knowing I'm not going to make every decision right, knowing that even if I make what I think are the right decisions, people are going to disagree, and having the confidence that it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to end up with Jesus, right? I mean, in the end, it's going to be done, which gives you the confidence to do the right thing. It gives you the confidence to put, the stuff on the table. The whole situation with the name change and the difficulty that the university was facing was all wound up in these things. And we talk about telling the truth. When we went up there was a $9 million deficit in the budget. When we told the truth about the budget, there was a $21 million deficit. So you've got to tackle the problems head on. Mm-hmm. But I didn't particularly appreciate the Fighting Hawks name. I'm a Fighting Sioux guy. I didn't appreciate how it went about, how the NCAA kind of forced it, how actually Adidas and Under Armour forced it because they said they wouldn't make any logoed T-shirts or uniforms or anything with the Fighting Sioux logo on it. And we had to go through that. But I wasn't particularly appreciative where it goes. But, if I was going to do the right thing, we had to move forward. We had spent 5 years at UND being jumbled up and kind of paying attention to all that stuff and difficulty things. And I said, we need to move forward. We're not looking back. We're not going to relitigate the problem. Sometimes I wish we would have, but we didn't. And we moved forward with the organization. And that was really the confidence that I carry with the comfort that I have in my faith of knowing that the truth, the direction, doing the right thing, solving the problem really comes from the basis of what I've learned in reading and studying the Bible and the words of Jesus and God.
Thank you. Next question.
Before you go to the next question.
Well, while they're finding the next question, go ahead, Prakash.
A parallel analogy. I was not interim president. I was interim AD. After my retirement, 3 days before my retirement, I got a call from the president and asked me to step into the athletic director. And I did something that the community was struggling with. Both the universities, the team makers and the booster club at the UND, they are just gung-ho. They dug their heels into it. I worked with this was an opportunity for me because two universities, I felt that we need to play together. And we moved away from that tradition, and we have been fighting over this, and they saying no, they didn't want to go to Division I when we were ready. And there's a past history about that. They all will tell their reasons as to why it is not happening. And so, again, during that time period, I said, well, I'm going to not make everybody happy, but at the same time, it is, again, the right decision to make. Two great universities, and there was a great tradition of playing together. So during my time period, that short time period, I was the one who scheduled that game to play UND and NDSU back together playing again. And that was during that time period. Did I take a lot of heat? No, I didn't. I didn't. And I was told that if I were to go back to my team makers meeting, I probably will get a lot of nasty comments at them. I went there and explained. I think only thing I can think of is, again, in a humble way I can say is my credibility. They knew I will do the right thing. I said, this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do. This is, in a state, great state, 2 great universities. We need to celebrate this. We can beat another team. Yeah.
See, that's what NDSU was afraid they were going to get beat by UND. That's why they were.
We disagree on that one.
I will say, as an administrator at Concordia, I have none of these problems. No one's begging us to play D1 football. Nobody is concerned about a corn cob mascot. In fact, no opposing teams are intimidated by a corn cob mascot. So it's all a moot point. I think we had Mark in the back. Alice.
Hello. My question is around being leaders of faith. When you think about maybe those dry times, those valleys where it was maybe a challenge to push forward, are there any faith in action that you've seen in others that kind of helped lift you up and made an impression on you during those times?
Can you?
So can you give examples of watching others in the workplace or in the world living out their values of faith, especially when either maybe challenging times for you or you needed motivation or a role model, so kind of seeing it and witnessing it in others? Is that fair, Alice? How's that? Got anything?
I do.
Go for it.
So one time when I was running for governor the first time, things were getting pretty weird as Nancy was correct in saying nobody ever thought I could win. As we tightened the race, I was 22 points in the hole after the primary in June. And by Labor Day, we caught up. And as we did better, the opponents got nastier. And things got pretty hairy. And people were going to, the opposing party was suing me for not being appropriate or not meeting the qualifications for being governor. Things were awful. I mean, the pressures were going on and on and on. And 2 things happened. One is I grew up in a little Episcopal church in Bismarck, and I went into the little church, and I was there in the middle of the afternoon, and I was praying about it, and I heard my favorite Bible verse come to me pretty clearly. What's wrong with your head, Ed? and it was, the clearest message was, look, it's not you, it's not your opponent. The outcome of this election is my will. The outcome of this election is in God's province. And that provided such a calmness and a peace over the rest of our campaign. It was amazing. But the important thing was an observation of someone else. All this time when I was being challenged, I was in Wahpeton. I was on my way to Fargo to confront my opponents who were going to sue me over my ability to run for governor and present them with the truth and the facts. And this was a hairy time. And the guy named Chuck Bigwood in Wahpeton, who's an electrician, he put me in his pickup. He's given me a ride. And all the way from Wahpeton to Fargo, he's got his Bible open on the steering wheel. I'm going like, don't you want to watch the road? But he's reading me Bible passages and saying, this is how it's going to come out, and look at this, and look at, and it was such a huge moment to have that comfort of prayer and the word and the truth that as I was going in to face this difficult time. He was a huge example of how to come upside of somebody in a difficult position and use prayer and faith for comfort.
Beautiful.
May not be a strong example, but at the same time, I think even though the last 20, 30 years at NDSU, the students knew, the faculty knew, the staff, they knew that my faith was strong, and I practiced what I believed. But nevertheless, I did not openly talk about it because the boundary was the state institution. Working within the state, guidelines, and for somehow I didn't speak up about God openly until the door was open for me. Majority of the time, the door was open to me by the students. They knew they will come and have a conversation, whether that is the personal matters or resolving the problems, and they will say, Prakash, we know you're a Christian. So the minute they open the door, then it's free. And then I started talking about God. And we had wonderful. I want to give an example of another person after I retired, a dear friend of mine. I'm going to use his name because I got his permission to do that. And Dr. Greg Lardy, if you hear that name, is a vice president for agriculture at NDSU. An amazing Christian man, a dear friend. He was not a vice president. I worked with him for a long period of time. And he started putting devotional message in his Facebook with his pictures that he takes. And it is there daily, he will put them. And I will read that along with, I usually read about 5 devotional messages every day. And Greg's one was one of them I was reading. And I give him feedback. Greg, you need to put this in writing. And so at last, he took pressure from, just like I was writing the book, people were putting pressure. And so his devotional book is available, by the way. If you are looking for a devotional book, it's available. But then I got a call from a prominent figure at NDSU. But mind you that I'm retired now, and called me and said, do you think it is a good thing that Dr. Lardy is writing this God thing in the Facebook? Because he's still working, and I don't think it is good for his future. This word by word, it's good for his future. If he's going to apply at some other university to go there, and he's doing this, I don't think he's going to go too far. So I asked this person who called me, he's also a friend of mine, and I said, why did you call me? And you're a friend of Greg. Why don't you talk to him? Because I don't see anything wrong with this. Because in fact, I was the one who encouraged him, because I was gaining from this, reading this every day in Facebook. Here's a devotional message. I was the one who encouraged him to write the devotional book. So I don't see anything wrong. And if you're saying that he may not get another job, I'm sure he thought about that. So, and it was interesting, people, how they take a look at it, even though he's not using any university property. It's not like a university email, none of those things. This is Facebook he's using, social media, and he is writing the devotional message every day, continues to. But it was interesting that how people will put you in this box and say that you can do this because you're working at a university campus. Well, I don't know whether that will restrict him from openly talking about his faith and his knowledge. I mean, wow, I think those devotional messages are wonderful. That's the only example I can give.
Wonderful. All right, I hate to say it, but we are out of time. So I'm going to give you your last chance for a brief closing statement, because we talked about a lot of things. What is the one thing you want these people to remember of all the things that you talked about in this last hour? What is the takeaway? Ed, you go first. Well, no, never mind. I don't care who goes first.
Yeah, you go first.
He's got it written out.
No, I got a quote.
So what I would ask you to do as you leave here is I would ask you to seek out the invisible. Those people you walk by every day and never acknowledge. The attendant at the gas station or the convenience store. The person who's going to vacuum these carpets. The person who opens the door for you. The person who delivers flowers, or whoever, wherever they are. The people that you generally walk by and never acknowledge. They are invisible to you. Find them, seek them out, find out who they are, build the love in this community together. That's what brings us all together, is your seeing other people, listening to other people, caring for other people, loving other people. I ask you to do that.
We're on it. We're on it. Prakash.
Live your values. Live your values. I can have the fanciest thing I can write down. I do have my core values written down. And every single day when I look at them, and am I living those values? And your faith in God, don't take it for granted, folks. I could have given a most powerful story. We'll take maybe another half an hour to tell the story. I'm not going to do that, but I'll end with something else. My late wife, when she was dying, I was with her 38 days in Mayo. Her last word was, I know where I'm going. And the room was full of people, family, friends, health professionals, and the doctor, the last team member of the doctor, was trying to give her the message that, ma'am, you're dying. And he was struggling. And she was comforting him and saying, I know, doctor, you're struggling. I know what you want to tell me. And she said, I'm dying, but I know where I'm going. Mm-hmm. That gave me the incentive. I think I made a decision. If I would have been laying there, would I say with confidence, I know where I'm going? Now I am. And that was the one she felt. And I also, I want to end it with a quote. I think I'm going to make my wife cry. When I married her, we have been married now 5.5 years after Sandy passed. And she told me the family who lives across from us, the Simmons family. And they call her fake grandma. And because their grandparents are in Montana, so she did everything for them. And when they were born, from that time on. So when I was marrying her, she said, you're going to be the fake. If you marry me, you're going to be the fake grandpa for those children. And we go to pretty much all the events. And she goes to everything, and I go most events. Last weekend was a very, very special weekend. We went to their track meet, in a state track meet in Jamestown. And then we had something else, symphony or meeting. And then her confirmation. So we went to all those events, pretty much all. Her name is Rilo. So her family shared with me what she wrote for her confirmation essay. I'm going to leave a little quote about that. So rather than my testimony, a lot of times it is the young people, their faith. My goodness, I think that's what inspires me. And if I didn't have that in her age. So here is it. The Bible verse that she chose for her confirmation essay is from Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. I won't go to the whole verse. So let us not grow weary in doing what is right. We all know that, right? And then she goes on to say, this verse is important to me because I believe in always doing the right thing. This Bible verse speaks to me about the kind of Christian I want to be. Hey, I get emotional reading this. So, because I believe that doing the right thing, by putting trust in God is one of the most important traits for a Christian, faithful Christian to have. Think about it. This is a young lady writing this. And this verse reminds me to have patience in God and that He rewards me for those who do not give up. I will stand firm in what I believe and know God stands with me. In the future, I will use this verse and my faith to guide me through my life. Think about that. How powerful way her life is leading. I wouldn't have known that.
Awesome. You gentlemen are a gift to our community, and people are here because they knew that going in, but we got to go hear even more today. So thank you for a lifetime of service and for today. Thank you.
Thank you to Jenny. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now over to Melissa.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Prakash. Truly, legendary leaders living out their faith, living out their values, and doing the right thing. Before we head out of this space, we have some artwork that gets to go home with two people. Mark, would you come up and share with us where the bids are, and let's see what we can raise for Faith Forward.
Well, you guys, when I stepped into this role, I came from a banking career. And at the first event we had at Breakfast and Bible, somebody came, Mark, this was a great event. You know why? Because it ended on time. And so if you have to leave at noon, you guys, please feel free to leave. We're probably going to run a little after, and I apologize about that. But that banking career took me to a place, into a lot of land auctions, and we did not know. Will Rosenberg was a very late entry. We didn't know about this guy, but I'm so glad that you all do now. This guy is a Park Christian Art School teacher. Isn't that crazy? And so my goal here, any funds raised here are going to go to Faith Forward and the mission. Very generous people. Right now we have $1,500 for each of them. For the sake of time, I'm just going to start running up from $1,500 if anybody wants to. Please help me out. I can hardly see, so just go, hey, over here, and we'll help go up if it goes up. We are so grateful at $1,500. Does anybody want to go higher than $1,500 on, and I'm not going to say either. We're going to go higher, they'll pick one, and then we'll do the other. We got, how much you want to go up back there? 2. 3,000. Okay, we got 3,000. Anybody want to, what do you want to go here? Okay, we'll come back to that, okay? Let's just go. Highest right now is 3. Does anybody want to go higher than 3? We're going to go, you pick. The higher we go up, and then you pick. We have $3,000. We don't know which one they're picking. You're at risk of losing it. This is how they do in the land auctions, guys. This is how you do it. And then you pick your parcel. I've been there. Okay, we got $3,000. Thank you so much. We got a hand up there. What do you got? 3,500. Has anybody got 4,000? We got 4. 4,500. This is crazy, you guys. Thank you so much. 4,500. Asking for 4,500. You're in at 4. Matt, I love you. You know that. Okay. Okay. We're going to sell the top one at 4,000, Matt. Thank you so much. Everybody give Matt a round of applause. Matt wants the right one. Very good. We did have 1,500 at this one. Did you have 2 here? We have $2,000 on that one. Anybody want to go higher than 2? Let's say 2,500. You got it, brother. $2,000. Give him thank you. Thank you all, everybody.
Thank you all for being here today. You know we have some gifts to give away. We've got 2 door prizes to give away. One was a randomly drawn door prize. That was hard for me to say. Let's see, our first winner is the randomly drawn door prize. It's Russell Kuntz. Come on up, Russ. I don't think that he said that. Stinker. You're welcome. And now we have one more winner. That's going to be the top of our leaderboard. And you guys, it has been moving. I've been refreshing to see who is at the top of our leaderboard. They are going to, Russ walked away with Prakash's book and some swag, a t-shirt, hat, and a Faith Forward mug. And this next person is going to walk away with Prakash's book as well, the OG Faith Forward t-shirt, and you know what's coming next. Ready? Ooh. And that is going to go to Jean Nassers. Jean, would you please come up? I mean, all the way from the back. So let's get a slow clap. Isn't it so fun? I know, right? Congratulations. We can't wait to have you back next year. Our legendary leaders and so many of the speakers talked about the importance of doing the right thing. As believers, the right thing is telling as many people as we can about the hope that we have in Christ. About seeing them, the people who might be invisible, the people whose bones are so incredibly dry, and giving them that sip of water, inviting them to the well, inviting them to have the hope that we have in Jesus. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for the conversation, the connection. We want to stay connected with you, so please remember that in the Whova app, you can learn more about what's coming. Sign up on our mailing list. There's a sheet you can tear off in the workbook and drop it in the back. We'd love to stay connected because this is just the beginning. We'd also love some feedback from you, so you can scan that QR code, head into the Whova app, and give us some feedback. Please leave here today inspired to live boldly, to live out your faith and not fear. Thank you so much for being here the last 2 days.